This next section, we're going to talk about the blood-brain barrier. And this is really an important piece of information that most of us don't know about. The brain is protected by, in its network of blood vessels, capillaries, with extra tight endothelial cells. Those are kind of like skin cells, what are giving structure to those capillary walls. They're formed more tightly than usual. And what this means is that the central nervous system, which is comprised of the brain and spinal cord, this area cannot kill viruses. There's no immune system in the central nervous system, so it can't kill any viruses that enter. So the blood-brain barrier is meant to keep out harmful substances like viruses or bacteria and other harmful chemicals. But small uncharged molecules don't have charges, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, or fat-soluble molecules. And guess what? Heroin, marijuana, nicotine are all fat-soluble, can passively cross. They're so small they can get through that tight joining of the epithelial cells. And meanwhile, an active transport system, there's a pump system that makes sure that glucose and the different building blocks for proteins, the amino acids, and vitamins and hormones can get into the brain. And this is just a little image showing the overlapping cells and how tight they are and how you can push through or passively allow some of these small CO2, carbon dioxide, and oxygen to go through. The large molecules cannot pass, whereas there's the active transport proteins, pushing through these other molecules. And that this is important for how we're going to get useful chemicals into the brain. Glucose, hormones, amino acids, all these are really important. Glucose is a simple sugar. It's the primary source of nutrition for neurons. And to make glucose, the liver is converting carbohydrates, fats, and proteins into this simple sugar. Oxygen is required for this metabolic procedure as well. Thiamine, vitamin B1, is necessary for the brain being able to use, or the neurons being able to use, glucose. And if there's a prolonged vitamin B1 deficiency, neurons can die. Korsakoff syndrome, I don't know if you may have heard of this. It's a severe memory impairment. People with severe alcoholism often suffer from this, like severe last stages of alcoholism, and they are not getting enough vitamin B1 in their diet, and so the neurons, memory cells, are dying off. And I did want to say, back at the beginning here, sorry, here you see me being a spaz. Okay, anyway, let's go back and talk for a minute. So there's no immune system. It doesn't mean that harmful viruses can't enter. And a good example is the shingles, which is a form of herpes virus, just like, and it's coming from chickenpox, which is also a form of herpes, not genital herpes, obviously, but it's one of the group of herpes viruses. And so chickenpox we get as kids a lot of times, and it stays in our system. It gets into that central nervous system, and it stays there because nothing is going to kill it. There are no immune system cells that are going to kill it, because neurons are so precious that it's important not to kill them off. And that's how our immune system works. If there is a virus or a fungus or a mutant cell, it's surrounded by like a cell that uses phagocytosis to engulf the cell and kill it along with itself. So it's important that that doesn't happen in the central nervous system. We also have to be very careful, because if we touch our eyes, the back of the eye, the optic nerve goes right into the brain. So that's also a highway directly into the brain. Our eyeball is conveys information directly to the brain. So if there's any kind of bacterial infection or anything like that, it can get into the brain. So very important stuff to understand about the way that our brains are protected, but how certain things can get through. And I think it's really interesting too that all of these psychoactive chemicals that we think about as being harmful to a person, certainly over the long term, nicotine, heroin, those pass through because they're fat soluble. So interesting. Hope you enjoyed chapter 2. Send me an email or in the FAQ if you have any questions.